Welcome to session 3.
Now, sessions 1 and 2 were trading places and listening fully. And that kind of listening with empathy can transform your relationship. And we will continue to use that listening skill in the rest of Couple Talk. But this session, we're turning to something different.
This session we'll talk about the way we express ourselves.
I want Dawn to see my point of view and see things my way, right? And if you think about the perspectives exercise that we did in the very first session, I am wanting him to turn around and look at my point of view, to look at over my shoulder. But if I attack him and say, you know, it's all your fault and you've done this wrong and that wrong, is he going to want to turn and look over my shoulder? No. So I need to express myself in a way that makes him want to turn and look at my point of view and see and feel things my way. And that's what expressing yourself can do. Help draw your partner to really more fully understand you. Sometimes some of us get into attack mode, and I'll tell you that an example from our early marriage. We had been married only a few months, and I had traveled to the East Coast. I was going back to visit family. There were no cell phones at the time, so Don dropped me off at the airport, and then he said, "Oh, I'll call you." And so I arrived, and that day I didn't get a call. And another day went by, and I didn't get a call. And the third day went by, and finally, that evening, he called. And I remember because my sister answered the phone, and I heard her say, "Oh, hi, Don. Boy, are you in trouble." And was he? What he was met with was something like this. "Oh, so you finally remembered you have a wife?"
Well, no, that's not what it was.
"It's been 3 days? You don't even care that I might have not even gotten to my relatives? 3 days? I mean, we're married 3 months and you don't even want to know what's going on with me, visiting my friends and relatives?"
I want to know what's going on. We've been working a lot of hours. And
Oh, yeah. Work comes first. You can remember you have a job. You just can't remember you have a wife. And if this is how it's going to be 3 months after we get married, I mean, this is looking really good for the rest of our lives, I'm telling you. And if you think that I'm going to give you any kind of attention when I get back, well, we'll see about that. If you even remember to pick me up from the airport. Yeah, that was me. That was me. So now you wondered why Don thought he had made the biggest mistake of his life? You get a little picture there. Yeah. So that's the way we can sometimes get into trouble in terms of getting into attack mode, or kind of not really talking fully and expressing ourselves in detail.
And the goal is that each of us would be able to express ourselves fully and honestly, but in a way that gets connection, not damage. Remember those core values, being open and honest, but doing it with care and compassion. So that's where we're going.
Right, so turn in your workbooks, and we're going to begin with the guidelines for expressing yourself. And we'll stop along the way to practice some of these guidelines. So the first step is a preparation step. Think before you speak. Now, what should you think about? What we often do is when we have an issue, we think about our complaint about the issue and our hurt and our anger. So what should I think about? In your workbook, it says, what you should be thinking about. What's good about your partner's point of view? So try to turn to think about what's good about your partner's point of view. Practice empathy. See it from their point of view. So trying to step into your partner's point of view and see something good about it. Now, what happens if that's a very difficult step to do because it's a very difficult issue? Well, how about focusing in on what is good about your partner overall or your relationship, something from your past that you appreciate about your partner. So if we really kind of take a step back and practice that, take that in and focus in on the good that we see in our partner and about our relationship, that's the way that we can get ourselves prepared to express the truth in love. So on this page, there's a list of what might be good about your partner or your relationship, such as they're willing to listen to your point of view, they care about you and your relationship, they're willing to work out issues, there's positive character qualities in your spouse, maybe related to the issue or not, you have the shared history, you have shared values and goals and dreams. Now we're ready to begin expressing. And how do you do that? Well, the first guideline says, when you begin expressing yourself out loud, start by telling your partner what's good. Now, this isn't just a simple compliment. It's putting this problem in a bigger perspective. It's focusing on the good beneath the problem, the good that your partner likely sees from his or her point of view. And if the issue is so deep or disconnecting, then start with something good overall. I appreciate that you're here and willing to listen to me. I appreciate that in the past we've worked out issues that have been resolved well for both of us. So the final subpoint is express positives all through your message, not just to begin. So whenever they come to mind, make sure you say them out loud.
So now we'll practice finding good in each other's position, trading places long enough to find out what's good. For example, whether to keep the porch light on or off at night.
So let's say I want to have it on.
And I would rather have it off.
Right. So I would like that porch light on all night. What might be good about this position, this point of view, that I would like to have it on all night? Why would I want to do that? Yeah.
For safety reasons?
Yeah, so for safety reasons. So I am interested in safety.
And if I want to have it off, what's the good in my perspective that I want to have it off?
Saving money on the electric bill?
Yeah, save some money, right.
So the way it sounds is, the way we would begin is, when I think about this issue that has to do with the porch light, from your point of view, I see that you want to save electricity, and that means something to you. You're careful about the budget, and you want to save on electricity.
And a good I see in your point of view on this is that having the light on would give us extra security, and you'd feel safe.
Right, right. So that's an example of how we name the good in our partner's point of view, okay?
One of our toughest times that we had was when we had teenage kids. And Alex and I disciplined in different ways. She was more likely to be watching them close and
checking emails, listening in on things. I was really desperate to keep them safe. I really was. And so I was doing whatever I could do to keep them out of harm's way.
And I saw it a little differently. I just figured that was adolescence when, we all kind of sow our wild oats or whatever. And I wanted to deal with things as it came up, but I didn't want to really get too invasive. And we conflicted quite a bit about that.
So we ended up like this, and in a very different points of view. But what we had to do was kind of look at it from each other's point of view. And as I looked at it from Don's point of view, I could see that one of the really wonderful things about it was when he made decisions about disciplining our children, he didn't have to take them back. They weren't these quick decisions. He was getting a good broad overview of what was going on, and when he made a decision about it, he didn't have to retract it. So they were well thought out.
And for her, I could see that even though I thought she was going too strong, that I knew that she was doing it because she desperately loves our kids. And she was really wanting to protect them and care for them and help them, and her motivations were stellar.
And that's what got us through that really difficult phase. Too many years, I wish it wasn't so long, but it got us through that difficult phase of really having different points of view and wanting to do something different, but having to come together and work together by us naming each other's point of view, the good in each other's point of view.
So let's go into your workbook to where you'll see a good I see in your position, finances. It's a common issue. Often couples will have different ways of handling finances, and it can be a friction point. So the goal here is to identify good aspects of your partner's point of view about finances. So ladies, let's just imagine that you are a saver. Okay? It can be men or women, can be either of these positions, but we're just going to assign it for this exercise. Ladies are the saver, men, you're the spender. Okay? We'd like you to finish out in your workbook the example below. Just use one of your workbooks. You can share together in a single workbook for this exercise. And we want you to find one or more good about the other person's position. So ladies, if you're the saver, then your job is to find something good about him being a spender. And of course the opposite is true for you men. And you'll write that in your workbook in the spot provided.
So let's have you use the women's workbook. So men, you can put your workbook aside because you're filling out the chart together. So let's have everyone use the women's workbook.
Then, after you've filled that in, you will each make just a short statement. Ladies, you'll say, a good I see in your spender position is, and then you'll name it and tell them what that is. And of course, gentlemen, you'll do the same thing for her, a good in her position. All right, we'll give you 2 minutes for this quick exercise, finding the good in a difference about finances. Ready, go.
There's 1 minute left.
Turn back to the video. We're getting ready to start.
Okay? So we'd like to find out, ladies, what was the good you found in his position?
Sarah?
A spender might have more of a willingness to take risks.
Yeah.
So there's something good about that.
Yeah, more of a risk taker, probably entrepreneurial, that
Yes.
sort of thing.
So fellas, how about what's a good in the saver point of view? All right, you're nodding your head?
Yeah, similar is a saver is more willing to wait for a good time to spend rather than just going out and buying it when it's less impulsive. It's more of a well thought out plan.
Right, so planning, self-control in some way. Yeah, great.
All right, so you get it. The idea there is you have a difference about how you're going to handle money, but start by identifying something positive in the other person's point of view. Now it's your turn to practice with a topic from your relationship that you'll choose. Turn in your workbook to exercise a good I see in your position, our disagreement. The purpose of this exercise is to practice identifying good aspects of your partner's view when you disagree. So together you will decide on a small disagreement that one of you wrote on your topic list or that you choose right now. Work together to fill out one chart. Go ahead and use the ladies' workbook again. She will write what's good about his position in this disagreement, and he will write what's good about her position. And you'll fill out the same chart together.
Then you'll name what's good about your partner's position out loud. And we really need practice at admitting this to our partner. And it is a great way to train our brains to get into the habit of saying this out loud. It'll help you, again, when you express yourself about your own point of view. So she'll say, when I think about our disagreement, a good I see in your position is, and name it out loud. And he'll say the same thing. Now, if you can't identify a small difference or disagreement, there is a list in the workbook. We don't want you to choose a major disagreement topic. And what you'll do is look over that list and see if any resonate with you, and choose that particular topic, and then fill out the chart together. And then what we did was provide some answers about goods in each position in the back of the book, and you can check those answers if you're stuck. For instance, one of you might be more organized and the other less organized. Somebody's got to get everywhere early, another one doesn't mind being late. How about Facebook? Let's post it all. Let's keep it all private. Those are some examples. So we'll give you some time to do this, and if you're finished, then go ahead and use the man's workbook and fill out another chart using another topic.
Okay. We'll give you some time now. We'll let you know when we're halfway through and when there's a minute left, and then again when it's time to come back together. Ready, go.
Go ahead and talk to your partner.
Halfway there.
This is the final minute, so begin wrapping it up.
Turn back towards Don and Alex. They're getting ready to start up again.
Okay, how was that for you? In your own workbook, we'd like you to look at the bar graph and mark how easy or difficult that was for you to find a good in a position that is different from yours. So we'll give you just a few moments to do that.
On your own, complete the quick debrief.
So now we'd like to hear from you. How easy or difficult was it to do this?
Yeah, it was actually pretty easy for us, something we've talked about. But what if it's an issue where I can't find any good in her viewpoint?
Well, one of the important points to remember is if you're naming something good in your partner's position, it doesn't mean you agree with them, right? So that's one thing to kind of remember. That might relieve you a little so that you can kind of find the good in their position and think through it a little bit more quickly. For example, if one of you is a vegan and the other person loves junk food, for the person who's vegan to kind of look at that point of view from their partner's perspective doesn't mean that they agree with it. So the person who's a vegan can say, I still am abiding by my principles, but from your point of view, you like fast food because it's quick and it's cheap and you like the taste. That doesn't mean if I were the vegan that I like it or I want to do it. I'm just acknowledging why they do it and what's good about it for them. Okay, so that might help. And then another thing to remember is the default position. If it's difficult to find something good about your partner's point of view with regard to this issue, what we'd like you to do is go back to that more global view of your relationship overall. You've worked out issues in the past. You had a wonderful wedding day where you had hopes and dreams and you're living some of them out. Those kinds of things, talk about that. Remind your partner about that, say that out loud.
Another one might be public displays of affection.
It might be. Some of us have different opinions about that.
I like public display of affection.
Yeah, and he definitely knows I have a different point of view on that one, yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, we'd like you to talk to your partner. We want you to talk about what it was like to find a good in a disagreement that you have. So take a minute to talk together about that now.
Turn and talk to your partner about this exercise.
Now what we'd like to do is continue in your workbook with the guidelines for expressing yourself. Guideline number 2 says, speak from your own point of view rather than what is right or good or normal. Use words that show respect, not judgment. And change you messages to I messages.
This refers to how you say what you say. A you statement or you message is a statement that carries blame, fault, responsibility for the problem, and it feels like an attack to the hearer. What do people do when they feel attacked? Defensive or? Counterattack. Yeah, we're coming back. All right, you ready to mix it up? Let's do it. So we don't want to provoke that kind of a response if we want our partner to really hear and understand what we're saying. So the way to switch that is to make it an I message. An I message carries the same core content, but in a way that owns the feeling being expressed without sending blame or fault to the person hearing. The hearer is able to hear the message because they're not defensive or they're not attacking back. So we have some illustrations for you where we take some unhealthy statements, and we're calling that incite, like if you were to incite a riot, and we're going to compare that to saying it in a healthy way, which we're going to call insight. So we're insight to insight. So let's take a look at some examples on these video clips.
You never pick up your socks. You're so lazy.
Okay, ladies, take 10 or 15 seconds and clean that statement up and tell your partner a healthy way to say the same thing. Go.
Ladies, turn and talk to your partner.
Okay, what'd you come up with, ladies?
I would appreciate if you'd be willing to pick up your socks.
Nice,
I
okay.
would appreciate it.
That got
yeah.
it.
So maybe something like, you know, I get frustrated, that kind of thing, or some feeling like that.
Yeah, let's see what the video clip came up with.
I get frustrated when you don't pick up your socks.
Okay. I get frustrated. Okay, that's an I message. Okay, fellas, you're going to do this next one.
What a lame idea.
Okay, fellas, take 10 or 15 seconds and tell your wife that same content in a healthy way. Go.
Men, turn and talk to your partner.
Okay, fellas, what'd you come up with? How can we say that using iMessages? Same content with iMessages.
I feel like there's a better way to do that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fine. Anybody else?
I feel that's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, okay, that could work. Now, there's a lot of ways to make this skillful, but each one of them is going to own what you're saying. It's my opinion. So let's hear what the video clip will show us.
I prefer something different.
Okay. I prefer something different. Nice and simple.
It's okay, you can have your own opinion. You know, I would like to do it a different way. I see it a different way.
And one more for the ladies, okay?
A good husband would want to hear what his wife has to say.
Okay, ladies, tell your partner in a skillful way. Okay, ladies, what'd you come up with?
Tia.
I would appreciate it if you listened to me.
Yeah, I would appreciate it if you'd listen to me.
That's nice. Okay. Anybody else?
It means a lot to me if you would want to listen to me.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, and let's hear the cleaned up clip.
It would mean a lot to me if you would listen to me.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
she
good.
got it, huh? Yeah. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of different ways to express yourself in a healthy way. So that's why we wanted to get different responses from you, because there's a lot of different ways.
Okay. Gentlemen, clean up this one.
Tom's wife makes him a hot breakfast every morning.
Okay. Okay, men, tell your partner that same content, but say it in a healthy way. Okay, fellas, what'd you come up with? Andy.
I'd appreciate it if you cook for me every once in a while.
Okay.
Once in a while, he kind of made it more realistic.
Now that's interesting because what he said was skillful, but he could say that with a tone of voice that would make it unskillful. Don't you think? Yeah. I'd appreciate it if you'd cook breakfast for me once in a while. Yeah? So there's a different message there, right? But the way you said it, I think, was skillful. Others? Lee.
Baby, I just love when you make me breakfast in the morning.
There you go. All right. Let's hear how this fella changed it.
It would mean a lot to me if you would make me breakfast in the morning.
So you get the idea. We don't say you can't talk about frustrations or anger or disappointment with your partner. We want you to make those statements to your partner in a healthy way so that they're open to hearing. And converting a you statement that contains blame and fault and converting it to an I message that contains what you prefer and your point of view makes all the difference.
And that sort of blends into guideline 3. Talk about your thoughts, feelings, concerns, and desires. So we're emphasizing feelings here because it's so often not included in our messages. And we want to express fully and honestly, and that does include our feelings. And there's a way to express negative feelings with honesty and compassion. Remember the values, openness and honesty with caring and compassion. And a sub-point to remember is that feelings are usually single words. When you think about that feeling word list we've provided, that chart of feeling words, they're all single words. So when you express a feeling, you would be saying, I feel blank, and one word would express it. So as you're trying to construct your messages, just think about one single word that would help you express your feeling. And another point we want to make is don't confuse thoughts with feelings.
It's very common in our culture, but let's hear a couple of clips.
I feel the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Okay, so that Packers fan, is he expressing a feeling?
No.
No, that's not a feeling, is it? And there's a cute little way to test that out. If you can substitute the word think in place of the word feel, and the sentence still makes sense, then you're not talking about feelings. And it happens all the time. I feel the Congress is doing a great job. We do that all the time in our culture, but it's confusing because we're not really talking about feelings in many of those cases. So let's hear it if he replaces with think and see if it makes sense.
I think the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
It seemed to make sense, right? So he hadn't expressed a feeling. That was not a feeling. All right? I really believe that the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this year. You never know what you're going to find on these videos, huh? Yeah. We had a lot of fun filming that. Yeah.
Now the final guideline is something to avoid, and that is trigger words. Trigger words. Now we have some common trigger words that we'd like to make sure that you write down, and those words are always, and then you can guess the other one, never. So always and never are always a problem, so never use them, okay? Because if someone says, you always do such and such, what are you likely to be trying to think of?
Instances when you don't.
Yeah, 3 years ago there was this one time, right, that I didn't, yeah. So what it does is it triggers that kind of thing in your partner, and instead, think about other words you can use to describe what's really happening, which isn't exactly always, but maybe frequently, or not as much as you'd like, or something like that. Right, and in your workbook, in the appendix, we have a chart labeled Insight to Insight, and it's a reference page where we have common statements that might incite your partner to be defensive or attack, and then a way to change them into messages that provide insight into your point of view. Another couple of quick tips are ask for what you want. Actually name what you would like your partner to do rather than hinting. For example, if I said, you know, I heard that Adam and Sarah found this really great Thai restaurant nearby, and it wasn't expensive and it wasn't very crowded, and you know, they said it had really good food.
Oh.
Now, you all are reacting because why? What was really my message there?
You wanted him to take you to dinner.
I wanted him to take me to dinner. Did I ask that? No. And so what we need to do is take the responsibility to actually ask for what we want and say it out loud. So I needed to say, and I would really like to go with you. And there's a risk to it because he may say, I don't ever want to get near Thai food. It's junk food to me or whatever. But I need to take that risk and ask for what I want. And I do want to make a point that with regard to gender and communication, many times women can read between the lines, and indirect communication like that is fine between two women. Now, if I were, Melanie, if I were walking in the mall with you, and we're walking along and we're heading to the department store sale, but I say to you, oh, there's that new coffee place. I heard it has really good coffee. What might you say to me?
You want to go try it?
Yeah, because she knows I'm actually asking to go and take a side trip and go and have that cup of coffee. But I say it in an indirect way. And when women talk to each other, they know how to request in an indirect way. And she would read that and I would say, oh yeah, what a great idea. Yeah, that's a good idea, let's go. So I'm not saying that you always have to get direct and even blunt. I'm saying that when I'm communicating with someone who's not understanding me, it's my responsibility to be clear and direct. And then another final point is be specific when you name what you want. If I said to Don, well, boy, I wish you showed you cared more, what does that mean to him? He doesn't know what he needs to do to show he cares. What if I changed that and said, you know, I would really like it when you come home that you would go and find me in the house and give me a hug and a kiss. And that would be, okay, no, I didn't do that. That's just my example. So name specifically what you would want your partner to do, and that will really help them understand.
Now let's put this all together. Now, we're going to have you do an exercise where you practice expressing yourself using guidelines in an almost real-life situation. We're going to ask each of you to think of a real issue or conflict that you have with someone other than your partner, and not your partner's family. Okay? It can be your mom, but it can't be your partner's mom, not your in-laws. All right? And it can be a current or it can be a past issue. So we're going to do an example for you so you'll get a chance to see what this is like, and then you'll be doing this together yourselves. I have a friend who has left some sarcastic messages on my voicemail if I don't respond quickly enough to his phone call. He leaves me a message. He'll call one afternoon and then call the next morning if I haven't called him back and leave a kind of a sarcastic message saying something like, well, I guess some people aren't important enough to get a call back. And I usually avoid the conflict and I call him up and talk with him and I say, no, gosh, I've been busy, it wasn't that. But it's happened several times now. And you know, it's gotten to the point where this last time I just wanted to explode. I don't want to treat him badly, but I don't want this to go on. So Alex and I are going to model, she's going to be listening and I'm going to be putting together a conflict statement that I would give to this person.
So Don is going to speak to his friend, and I'm going to just listen. I'm not going to respond. I'm just going to kind of listen to how he talks to his friend, and then afterwards I'll give him some feedback. What might have caused some defensiveness, what kind of words maybe should be avoided, or you know, maybe some additional feelings he could have added. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of coaching of him after he does his full statement. So the first thing he has to do is think before he speaks, so I hope he's done that. And then he wants to kind of approach his friend, and he might say something like,
Roger, is this a good time for me to talk to you about something that's kind of been bugging me for a while?
and the next point in your workbook is start by telling your partner what's good in their point of view or what's good about your relationship.
Roger, I really enjoy being with you. I especially enjoy it when we go out to breakfast and have those real deep talks. They mean a lot to me.
And then he's going to talk about from his own point of view. He's going to tell his thoughts and feelings and concerns and desires, and he will be avoiding trigger words.
What I want to talk to you about, Roger, is when I heard your voicemail complaining that I hadn't called quickly enough, I really had some frustrated feelings. I was bothered by that. I've been under a tremendous workload lately, and my schedule is just really crammed, and I like talking to you, and I like getting together with you, but I'm not in a position where I'm able to respond right away when you call. Sometimes, because of my schedule, it's going to be a while before I get back to you, and I don't want you to think that that's something about you. It's really all about my schedule.
If Don had gone on in the example, he could have asked for what he wanted. Something like, Roger, if I don't call you back, please wait a few days before checking back with me. That'll help a lot. So this is just an example of someone who is taking a real life situation, and this is what you'll be doing. And you'll be putting yourself into reality because it's your situation, your real life situation, and trying to come up with a way to ask for something, to make this complaint and ask for something, some changed behavior on their part, and put it all together and then get your feedback from your partner who will coach you on how that went.
So we'll assign you this exercise. First, one partner does that statement, the other gives the feedback, and then you switch, and the inverse happens. If you finish before the time is up, start with another conflict role play. Think of another person, another situation that you can practice with, because we want you to use all this practice time. Okay? We'll let you know when we're halfway through, we'll let you know when there's a minute left, and then the music will come up when it's time to come back together.
And we would like you to turn knee to knee so you can focus on each other as you do this exercise.
All right, ready, go.
Get knee to knee with each other and start the exercise.
You're halfway done. If you haven't already done so, it's time to switch roles.
You've got just one more minute. Turn back to the video. It's time to start again.
So how was that for you? What we'd like you to do is, in your workbook, take note of which of the guidelines were most difficult for you to follow. For instance, maybe it was difficult to talk from your own point of view. Maybe you had difficulty including your feelings. Perhaps there were some trigger words that slipped in as you were talking about this point of view you had and your feelings. Or maybe it was difficult to ask for what you want. So just take a few moments and mark the ones that were difficult for you.
On your own, complete the quick debrief.
Okay, now we'd like to hear from you what that experience was like with this exercise. What difficulty did you notice?
I tend to be a little more assertive and direct. I don't like to beat around the bush. I say it how it is from my perspective. And so for me, it was difficult to not use trigger words because I'm so used to approaching conflict with a direct tone, trying to get my point across as quickly as possible. And sometimes I don't consider the other's feelings.
Yeah.
Right, so there are some guidelines that might resonate more with you than other guidelines. So focus on those. If trigger words are difficult, then start becoming more and more aware of those trigger words. If talking about your own point of view is difficult and being a little bit more direct is something you want to work on, then start working on that. Now we'd like to have you talk to your partner about what that exercise was like and what was easy and what was difficult for you.
Turn and talk to your partner about how this exercise was for you.
Okay, we need to pull you back together. We gave you a little taste of constructing a statement that is healthy and skillful when you have some conflict or some rough feelings. We hope you can begin to practice that and put that together.
Now we're going to be cracking the code to a deeper connection by expressing yourself. So turn to your workbook. And we want to have you remember the guidelines. When you prepare to talk to somebody, think first about what's good. Start by naming what's good. What's good about your partner's point of view or about your partner or the relationship. Then speak from your own point of view and show that respect that you have for them, not judgment, not words of judgment. And then talk about what's important to you, your thoughts, your feelings especially, make sure you include those, your concerns, your desires, and avoid words that trigger your partner.
And cracking the code in everyday life. How can we take these principles and apply them as we live day to day? Several things. Include positives all the time. Throw those positives out to your partner whenever you can. It's a beautiful thing. Whenever you think of something good, tell them so they get to hear it. Don't keep it to yourself. What if you mess up? So here's a solution that you can use in your day-to-day living. Offer to redo what you just said to your partner. If you say something and bang, you can sense, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I mean, we've all done that. You know right away, usually, oh, that wasn't good. I shouldn't have done that. The next words out of your mouth can say, wait a minute, can I redo that?
Don recently did that. I went into your office and you said something that was a little snippy, and I thought, okay, I'll just walk away, and I went back to my room, and then a few minutes later he came and said, I need to redo what I just said, and I had been thinking about it a little. So it was really a wonderful experience for me to realize he had thought about it, caught himself, came back and said, I have to redo what had just come out of my mouth.
And the other person needs to be gracious and give grace when that happens. Probably, like Alex said, she had been bothered a little bit by what I had said, and that'll happen if you say something that's hurtful or provokes an attack or provokes a defensive response. So that person needs, if the redo is requested, that person needs to be gracious and be willing to allow that to be redone. And it's a sweet way to not let something grow and fester and develop into something over a long period of time, but right away you can get after it and take care of it, like rewinding the tape. And if you're the one who has been offended, like Alex in our example.
Right, I was happy to give him grace because I've had plenty of turns at having to do redos. So I want to make sure that I return the favor, right?
So again, a redo is a handy tool that you can use on the run. All right. Next, we want to assign partner appreciations. This is something we enjoy in every class, and we'd like for you to turn your chairs knee to knee. Each of you give the other an appreciation, just the way we've been doing in previous sessions. Okay? Ready, go.
Turn knee to knee with your partner and start the exercise.
halfway done. If you haven't done so already, it's time to switch roles.
Time's up. Excellent job. Let's turn back towards Dawn and Alex.
We love seeing you giving those appreciations to each other. It's beautiful, and we're hoping that you develop into a regular habit of doing that.
Research shows us how our habits develop. Doing the same thing over and over again ends up developing these deep ruts or grooves in our brain. And what happens is, like this jungle road here, it becomes this well-worn path in our brain that becomes soon the only path that we can conceive of taking. So if we have a way of talking that's hurtful, or avoiding talking about issues that creates problems, and we do it over and over again, we end up with this pattern, this habit that's been created. And trying to change communication habits like that, when it's doing it so often, is like hacking a new path through that forest road. So there we have a new path that's begun, and it's small. And there's a lot of practice that it's going to take to make that pathway become wider than the old habits that we've been taking. And we have a program that helps you create that habit even more quickly.
We bring it into your everyday life, and you'll get text messages and or emails.
So we'd like you to go to the website, CoupleTalk.com, to sign up, and we're happy to offer this to all of you. You've learned a lot about expressing yourself in this session, and we will continue cracking the code to a deeper connection.
Next session, we'll learn how to have a couple talk.